Hey everyone, James here. Excited to talk to you today a little bit about large language model powered email replies. We're going to see how easy it is to incorporate large language models and other AI services into your MuleSoft applications. We're going to see a little bit about how intelligent document processing helps you extract data out of PDFs and images. And lastly, we'll see how we can perform RAG with data from intelligent document processing as well as your ERP and other enterprise systems to create prompts to large language models that are grounded in your data. And for the purposes of the demo today, a lot of this is going to be powered by the MuleSoft AI chain connectors. They're a suite of connectors that we've built to simplify interacting with some of the popular AI services out there, like large language models, vector databases, things like AWS Bedrock, or even speech-to-text and text-to-speech models. Here, I always trip up on that one. For the demo, like I said before, we're going to be receiving tracking request emails with PDF attachments. So we're going to play the role of a trucking and logistics provider. We get these email requests. We're going to use the LLM to classify the email. We'll perform some data validation, very important, on the large language model response, send off the attachments to intelligent document processing to get some data that we need out of it to call our ERP. And then we'll take all of this data from the email, from IDP, from our ERP, and create a response grounded in that data from the systems, create a case in Salesforce for tracking purposes. And here we're going to reply automatically with all of this data, but this is a decision point where you could actually have a human review the response before it gets sent out to the customer. Let's hop into the actual demo itself to see how it works. So let's swipe over here and you can see I'm sending off an example email to us, the trucking and logistics providers, trying to get the status of the particular shipments for this purchase order. Let's take a look in the meantime at the purchase order itself to see what it looks like while the Mule app's processing it. So pretty simple. It has some key details we'll use to look up data from our ERP. And in the background, the Mule application will be processing all of this. And in a little bit, we should actually be getting a response back that's grounded in data from the ERP, from the email that we sent out, and from the attachment that we just took a look at. There you go. Here you see we got the status update for the shipments for this PO. We pulled out data directly from our ERP, and we've even created a case in Salesforce just in case there needs to be follow-up here to work this out. Let's hop over to Studio and actually see what was happening in the background here to make this work. And starting at the left, we use our Gmail connector to listen for those emails. We'll save some stuff about the attachments, and then we'll start our first prompt creation here to actually instruct the large language model to classify the intent of the email into one of three categories here. And you can see very simple expression to insert data dynamically into this prompt. So in this case, we're sending the email headers and the body, of course. And here in gray, you can actually see an example of what this all looks like when it's actually running. We have an example of a subject that would be put in there as well as a body. So super simple to start to create prompts that are dynamically constructed with data that you've pulled out of the Mule connectors. And this is where we'll then use the Einstein connector, like I was saying before, to call an OpenAI model behind the Einstein trust layer. And if you're not familiar with the Einstein trust layer, Salesforce has basically built out this layer in between large language model providers and its customers so that you can automatically perform things like toxicity detection on their requests and responses back. It has a whole bunch of cool secret sauce on top of calling a variety of different large language models. Highly recommend you check it out. So we call that ChatGPT 3.5 Turbo model to perform the email classification. And Mule's been really good at data manipulation for a long time, and this is an example of this in action. We're actually validating that the response we got back from the large language model is actually a valid classification. If it's not, we want to be able to handle that and retry things, maybe give the LLM another chance to do its job, because we need this to evaluate correctly. And this helps handle some of that non-determinism that large language models are famous for. And then based on that status that we got, you can see we can use some of Mule's workflow capabilities. In this case, a choice router, so an if-then statement to say, if this email is attracting a request, we are going to go and perform a certain set of steps after that. In this case, the next part of our workflow is actually calling intelligent document processing here to send that purchase order attachment to get data extracted out of it, because we need that to actually call our transportation management system or our ERP to look up the relevant shipment details. Let's jump into IDP to see a little bit about the one-time setup that's behind it and some of the capabilities that it's providing. And here we're looking at the setup screen for IDP, where you can see we actually, for common documents like purchase orders and invoices, there's a set of industry standard fields that we already automatically look for you. So without doing anything, without setting anything up, you're able to create this action that identifies a ton of different pieces of information. And all of this becomes accessible via an API call. So even things like table data with quantities and other things like that, stuff that's historically been hard for technologies like optical character recognition to get right, IDP handles really gracefully. And you can even ask prompts to it. So it's like talking to your documents. And again, all of this becomes available via the API. You also see confidence scores. So based on the model's accuracy, you can actually drive certain review processes if this confidence threshold is not met. And the review process in this tool, basically one of your users will get a notification and they'll come into a very similar experience where this time they'll just be able to edit the response before resubmitting it to the process. So very quick to set up, very easy to use, something that admins can do, and it's very powerful to help get data out of these different documents to then continue using in your automations to call things like your ERP. And in this case, we're calling McLeod to search for shipments by purchase order number. But this very well could have been another connector like SAP, Oracle. The list is endless. Something that Mule's been good at for a long time is talking to your different systems. And as you can already see, we've used that strength to create prompts to large language models that are grounded in your data. And this is another great example here. After we receive all of the shipment information back for that associated PO, we're going to create one more prompt for the LLM. And this time we're going to be combining data that we received out of intelligent document processing. So in this case, the purchase order ID, as well as information that we pulled out of our ERP or our transportation management system. And when this actually evaluates, you can see we are providing the large language model a prompt that's grounded with your data. And this is going to enable the large language model to respond with a relevant output or relevant email back that is specific to the organization that is using it. So we prompt our LLM, we go through and again use Mule strength and connectivity to create cases in Salesforce, and then actually send an email response back using the Gmail connector. And if we take a look at Salesforce here, we can refresh it, and our email had case number 65. You can see we've created a new case here, and we have the email response that was generated, and in this case sent automatically by the MuleSoft application. But this is a starting point you could give an agent to say, hey, we've already done all of the work for you. Just make sure this looks right, and you could set it off from here. So that wraps up this demo. Highly encourage you guys to all check out the MuleSoft AI chain connectors. I'll have the resources showing right now. And hopefully it was helpful to see how easy it is to talk with these large language models inside a MuleSoft application, and then use our strengths in data connectivity, data transformation, and validation to create grounded prompts for these large language models that actually help you use them in your own enterprise's context with your own enterprise data. Please don't hesitate to reach out with any additional questions or comments. Always happy to talk about these types of use cases.